everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We are here to do another one of our weekly ranking episodes. This is a new thing that we've started since we don't have interviews right now. And we've had a lot of fun so far. And this one is a pretty creative one, I think. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner. Terry's here.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going.
Yeah. Well, what we decided to do today with the start of When Calls the Heart, we thought it would be fun to do a top 12 list of our favorite movies that star a main cast member of When Calls the Heart. It doesn't necessarily have to be a current main cast member. It could be a previous one. And we kind of went back and forth as far as what we classified as a cast member and also as a member of one of these cast member of one of these films, but it wasn't like a guest star of When Calls the Heart. We wanted somebody who was a regular cast member for this list.
Yep.
And we ended up with, I think it was 36 on the sort of short list of movies that we were pulling off of. 37. So the talent in When Calls the Heart is some of the top tier talent for Hallmark. They have them in a ton of their movies.
Yep.
And so it was a tough thing to kind of whittle down. And I really struggled with a couple ones because I'm like, for instance, Recipe for Love is one of my favorites Hallmark movies. But Pascal is barely in that movie. I mean, maybe 2 scenes. So I just didn't feel like it was in the spirit of the list. But then I have others that are supporting roles, but I feel like it was more substantial. You might have it on your list. It was on the short list, so it's valid. But anyway, that was a little bit of a struggle of like, okay, does this kind of performance count for me at least? I don't know if you felt that.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Well, let's just dive in.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And this would be fun because we'll probably have just different movies on our list. And we put for our patrons, and I'll read a couple of their answers. We put it up for them. And so if you want to check out the Patreon, you can be part of the discussion for these weekly ranking episodes. So we'll read those at the end. But my number 12 is a starring Kevin Smith, and it's Hello, It's Me. And this movie is bonkers. It's crazy, but it's got a Julie Sherman-Wells script, and it is very sweet, and it tugs on the heartstrings, the themes of sort of regret and loss and getting a chance to say goodbye, because she starts getting these text messages from her dead husband. And yeah.
This one, I have this on my list, but it's higher.
Okay.
For me. But
yeah.
I forgot who wrote. It's based on a book. I actually have this book. Somebody gave it to me. I haven't read it, so I don't know how faithful it is. I just discovered that the other day because I have so many books. I was like, oh my gosh, I have this book.
Yeah, I think this is Julie Sherman-Wells' first script or one of her first scripts for Hallmark. But yeah, based on a book.
Yeah. I just I found the whole thing kind of touching in a way of like, it is bonkers because she's getting those telephone, or she's listening to those messages or telephone calls from her deceased husband. But I found it touching in the way it portrayed grief and moving on, and the way she's opening her business and finding love again.
Yeah.
And I love Kelly Martin, and I think they had good chemistry, and the whole cast was good and they worked together.
Yeah.
It's a sweet movie.
Yeah, it is a sweet movie. And I agree. I love Kelly. And it goes to some like darker places. This would definitely be Movies and Mysteries.
Yes.
Now,
which I think it did originally premiere on that channel.
Was Movies and Mysteries even around then? This was
yes,
2015.
Yes, I think so. Yes, I believe so. Unless they were still the movie channel at that point. Because I know they rebranded to that. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, it did premiere on the sister channel.
Yeah, and I remember that the daughter was good, pretty good in
Yeah,
this. And yeah, it's less a romance and more a story about grief. Like that's more
exactly. Yeah,
a secondary thing,
yeah.
but you do kind of have to buy into this supernatural premise.
Which I like because Hallmark doesn't go that much anymore to the supernatural or even to fantasy level. So it's always
Yeah,
fun to see that, and the twist.
yeah. All right. Well, what do you have at 12?
Boy, I'm coming in hot. Um, I do not believe this was on the short list, but my number
Oh.
12 is an Aaron Krakow movie.
Uh-huh.
Now, oh boy. Um, I chose A Cookie Cutter Christmas.
No, you're right. It wasn't on the short list. I forgot
Yes.
about this one.
Now,
Yeah.
is It's Always You and The Wedding Cottage better films? Absolutely, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I was stuck on these three because there are quite a few movies from Aaron that do not sit well with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I've made my feelings known on the father trilogy,
Yeah.
but you really, even though those two movies are better than the one I picked, I had to take what was the level of enjoyment I had while watching. I am not as high up on the Wedding Cottage or It's Always You as a lot of fans are. I had like
Mm-hmm.
little nitpicks and problems, especially with It's
Mm-hmm.
Always You, which
Yeah.
annoyed me more than anything else. But I had to take my enjoyment level and the absurdity of the whole situation because you have two frenemies, these two girls, Erin Krakow and Miranda Friggin.
Mm-hmm.
Friggin. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh,
Yeah.
I apologize. I mispronounced that. I'm terrible with names. But how their animosity grows, that they're rivaling teachers right across from each other. They're rivaling over this most boring man who's like dead on arrival, in the film. He's, and they're fighting over him, and they go and she's got to learn how to make cookies because now they're in a cookie competition, which I
Yeah.
thought was really fun in aspect with the just the bizarre whole thing of the cookie competition and judging it all and
Yeah, they used to do more of the sort of cat fighting. There was
right.
like even something like Nine Lives of Christmas, with sort of the he's got that, really shrew girlfriend.
Yeah.
And you don't see that as much anymore.
No.
Pretty
And
rare.
yeah, so that's what I enjoy overall, like the level. I enjoyed it. It's absurd. I mean, I would not fight over that man in that movie. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
But other than that, and I know it's like people are going to be like, excuse me. I mean, because when they talk about Aaron Krakow movies, they don't really mention this one anymore. It's kind
Yeah.
of one of her
Yeah.
first she did
True.
outside of When Calls the Heart. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to
Yeah.
go for it.
I'm glad you did. It was, for me, it was Always You. My problem was I got really tired of him correcting her.
Oh my
That none
goodness.
of her opinions were good enough. Nothing she liked was right,
Yeah.
and
And
that was very annoying to me. And I just thought the whole plot, like I didn't hate the movie. It
no,
was
same, but
okay,
yeah.
but I was just like, this is kind of a weird plot.
Yeah, he like berates her over everything. And she only figures out
Like she can have
her
vanilla
problems.
cake if she
Yeah.
wants vanilla cake. This is
But
2023. A woman should be able to have vanilla cake.
but Hallmark does this a lot, even in the new regime where
Yeah.
men need to, like, women only realize that they're going through something when
Right.
men point it out to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, but
Yes. Yeah. Y'all need to watch Barbie and listen to America Ferrera's speech. Thing. But yeah, no, I'm glad you picked it. That one, it's not a favorite of mine, but I'm glad because I forgot to put it on the list. So there we go. Okay, so my number 11 is one that features Mrs. Lori Loughlin. I know Hallmark for a while pretended like she doesn't exist, but we're talking about Every Christmas Has a Story. This is directed by Ron Oliver. It's written by Ron Oliver. He's pretty good at writing and directing. It's basically, you have this reporter she plays this reporter, and she goes in to cover this like Christmas town, and she's got like her ex is there, and I really like Lori in this. I think she's good. Colin
Good movie.
Ferguson is really good. I wish he got more leads. He brings a like a humor, sarcasm that's fun. It's just pretty classic, but sometimes I'm in the mood for a classic
Yeah.
Hallmark movie with the girl going and falling in love with Christmas Town. And
Yeah. And it was one of the better ones that they aired the year that it came out. I remember.
yeah,
I remember liking,
2016.
yeah, I remember thinking that was one of the better ones that year
Hmm.
that they
Hmm.
aired. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does have that classic feel. And sometimes you just need that, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's a fun one. I I don't even know how you watch it anymore because of it's not on streaming or anything,
No,
but
I think it's
I
on
have warm
DVD.
memories of it. I have warm memories of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Mhm. All right. So
All
what
right.
is
So
your number 11?
my number 11, another person I struggled with on whether to make the list or not, because I do not gel with his movies,
Uh-huh.
with his Hallmark movies anyway,
Uh-huh.
is Winter Princess with Chris McNally.
Yeah.
I ended up going with this one because it is fun. I was really thinking about it, and I was like, no, I had fun with this movie. It's
Mhm.
absurd. You have a princess who's working at what is it, a ski resort or some kind of hotel, and they got to put together this party, and she's lying about she's a princess, and she's like, well, I've been here so long, I don't have an accent anymore. And then her brother comes along, and it's hijinks, it's the
Yeah.
hijinks you'd expect, but they have fun with it.
Yeah. And
And
we
there
did
is a
one of
good tiara in
yeah.
the movie.
And we did the dress in general is pretty good, I would
Yeah.
say. We did our royal Christmas movie ranking. We'll be
Right.
doing a non-Christmas eventually. And so this one will be on there. But we also had Natalie on for our patron watch along, and we watched this movie a while back. And if people
Yeah.
want to check out the Patreon, and so that was really fun to get to hear all the details about it. And yeah, it's ridiculous, but
It is.
it's
I
fun.
think so. Yeah.
And
And,
Casey Manderson as the brother, you gotta
oh
love
my,
that.
that was perfect casting. It's just
Yeah.
the more I thought about it, I was like, no, this is a fun movie. And the moment he's fun in it,
Uh-huh.
and I wish he had more fun roles like Hallmark films like that to do, because I
Mhm.
think it livens him up more as an actor.
Yeah.
So that was my
Yeah.
number 11.
I think it's a good pick. All right. Well, my number 10 is Summer of Dreams. And this is just a cute little Hallmark movie with kind of the inspirational teacher. There is a romance, but it's really more about Debbie Gibson and these kids,
Yeah.
and her learning to like giving up her diva ways to help these kids. And
Second chances too.
yeah, and Pascal Hutton is her sister, and she has like a way more substantial role than in Recipe for Love here. I mean, there's multiple scenes. And I like Robert Gant. I think he's charming, and he would have made a good Ken, I think. In the bar, like it maybe like a little bit older Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he would make it. But
Yeah.
anyway, and Debbie Gibson is cute. She's fun. And it's just, if you like sort of inspirational teacher kind of type stories, helping all the teens and stuff,
Th-
then it's
yeah.
a fun one.
This one's my number 9, Summer of Dreams.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And I like it because I think the sisterly relationship is
Yeah.
great. They're there for each other's back. But it is a story about like a pop diva who's no longer, no one's wanting to listen to her, and really just discovering a different path of life and going back and just reevaluating her career and changing strategies. And I like that. It's like second chances. It's like deciding where to go from there. It's not the end of the world. It'll be all right. And,
Yeah.
and having a romance to the side was pretty good. But I remember I remember really liking the kids. The cast is good. The dynamic is good.
Hmm.
And
Yeah. And even the sequel is like perfectly cute for
yeah.
these kind of like sequels is perfectly fun. So yeah, I it's a maybe a slightly forgettable but enjoyable
Yeah.
film. All right, well, what do you have at 10 then?
Mine is Homegrown Christmas. This one has
Hmm.
starring Lori Loughlin and Victor Webster.
Hmm.
And at first, they were high school sweethearts, and I'm scratching my head over that. But okay, we can forgive that. We can forgive that because the actress who plays Lori Loughlin's mother in this movie, they are the same age, and she's got a white wig on, so you can also forgive that as well. But I think one of the main reasons I like this movie, it's a little cheesy, and it's oh, of course they have to get together and plan that Christmas party for the school or whatever. But I like how she comes home and she's just reevaluating her life. She started
Uh-huh.
a successful business, she sold it, she sort of retired from that, and she's just really deciding where to go from then, whether she should start another business, whether she should just, sit at home and do nothing. And she's getting input from her mother, from her friends, and it's just like, this isn't a woman who was down on her luck that things fell apart and she went home. No, she went home for the holidays to visit her mom. She reconnected with an old love, but she was a woman just deciding
Hmm.
her next step in life. And
Yeah.
there was no wrongs that she could do, like it was just, which path could I go?
Yeah. Now I
That's
haven't
what I liked
seen,
about it.
yeah, I haven't seen this movie in a long time,
Yeah.
obviously. But at the time, my problem with the movie is that I felt like he was a big baby.
Yes, there is that as well.
Like
Yeah.
he's a grown adult. There's been all these years, and he's having this like hissy fits about the
It's
fact that she
true.
went to the city, and he's
Can you
all
believe
bitter and
that? I know.
he's
She
all
went
bitter.
to the city for an education and to run it and to start and run a successful I think it was a shoe company, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
How wrong of her to follow her dreams and be successful.
Yeah. So that's why I was like,
It is true.
uh.
But there's bonkers things about it. Like, what do you mean they were high school sweethearts? No,
Right.
no. But all right, okay.
Yeah.
And because I used to say she was a senior. That's how, like, in my mind, I
Oh,
was like, that's what it. She was a senior. He was a couple of years, maybe he's a sophomore. I couldn't buy it any other way, but it is funny.
yeah.
Throw that aside. I do like just, it was refreshing for the fact that, she's like, yeah, what am I going to do with my life? She didn't, go through a divorce. She didn't get dumped. She didn't get fired.
Yeah.
She just, she's successful and just looking for the second chapter.
I can see that. I can see that. Whenever you have a Nina Weinman script, it's going to elevate it more than it should be otherwise. So,
Right.
but speaking of Nina, my next one is one of hers. It's my number 9 is Destination Wedding. And I did struggle a
Okay.
little bit with this because Andrea Brooks has a sizable role, but she's a lot in this movie. And I'm not a fan of the bridezilla trope, and but everything else is so strong, and she's likable enough that I can deal with it. uh,
Right.
and you do have Jeremy Gilbot, who is on When It Calls the Heart, more of a guest performance, so
Yeah.
that like maybe adds a little bit, but I genuinely do like this movie, them like planning the wedding and them being sort of a second chance romance. It's almost
Right.
has sort of almost persuasion kind of vibes at certain
It
in
does.
the plot, and which I like. And what's her name? The grandma is Paula
Paula
Shaw.
Shaw.
She's
Yeah.
hilarious in
She
this.
was funny.
Really good, and it did feel like genuine family.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's one of my favorites of Alexa's. I think she's really good in it, and I wish that they would give Jeremy Gilbot more leads because I like him a lot. And it's just nice when they take one of these supporting guys and give them a
Give him
chance.
a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, a leading man. And so that was nice. And overall, I'm a sucker for beach setting too.
True.
Summer setting. So I'm not a big fan of wedding movies, and like I said, the bride was a lot, but I still overall enjoy it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. One of these days we'll probably have to do a Hallmark wedding top. And this would be pretty high for me, actually, which says something about my feelings of wedding movies. But you said that Summer of Dreams is your 9, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So my number 8 is one that I admit is somewhat influenced by the podcast, because I had so much fun covering it. And your life experiences impact your taste and your rankings. It's Christmas Scavenger Hunt with Kevin McGarry, and
bonkers.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I'm watching the movie, and first of all, he's like a total man with many jobs. He's just always there, whether it's like fixing the car, whether it's like being at the museum, whether it's whatever. He's all around the town just doing everything. And this scavenger hunt is like the worst. Like, it's terrible scavenger hunt. It, like, the clues aren't good. They don't make sense.
She consumes so much sugar in that entire movie. I was like, it needs to end with them calling 911, because her sugar rush is over. She's passed out. She's in a coma.
Yeah, and she does eat that chili though. Maybe that helps counter. But what is especially memorable is the wrong guy in this movie, that they were supposed to pick him up from the airport, and they just forget about him, and then I was like, oh, you didn't pick me up from the airport? And I think like leaving somebody at the airport is like the meanest thing that you could do. And
Absolutely.
And I'm like, he's not even the bad guy at all. Like, he's treated terrible.
So funny.
And the interview that I did with John Welch, who played the bad guy, was one of my all-time favorites. He talked about how they figured out that the hotel that they were staying at when they made this movie was haunted and had like stuff, and like, I guess it's like an old building from the 1800s and stuff, and that there's actually been reported ghosts.
I wonder if I would be brave enough to ever do that, because I'd say yes, but I know me, I'd be like, nah, I'm out.
And we did this whole sort of pitch session of pitching a Christmas Scavenger Hunt 2, and it's just one of my favorite interviews we've ever done.
I know the clues in that movie, and I don't know what was going on with Tom Arnold in that movie either, but I do remember when I first watched it not really enjoying it, but I've seen it since, and it's kind of grown on me, like just how bonkers it is. And I was like, like sometimes that happens. Your first initial viewing is like, ugh, but then it grows on you. And that was the year Kevin McGarry was like Mr. Christmas. He had Christmas movies everywhere.
He had, I think that year, 5 Christmas movies that year. So he was crushing it. And this one I thought was bonkers and funny. And all the, like, they make cookies like several times. They make cookies within the scavenger hunt, and then at one point they have to get a tree, and like, it's just, the scavenger hunt was so bad.
It's all to save the
museum.
The museum,
all
that's it.
Really dedicated to this
museum.
It wasn't even like a town museum. It was a museum for the factory, if I recall.
Exactly. It was the factory museum, which that is like, it's a head scratcher, but you got to go with it.
But I'm in the interview with John, we talked about what they need to do if they have this haunted hotel. They need to make a Christmas Carol version there. Can you imagine how good that would be to have a version of Christmas Carol in an actual haunted place?
I know. Oh, that would be fun.
It'd be so good.
It would be fun.
I don't know why we're the only ones that think of these ideas. Like,
that's true,
Hallmark, we're available.
Or
Oh,
it'd be
but
fun to just set a Halloween. They rarely do Halloween movies anymore.
yeah.
It's just fun to like see it like a
Mhm.
haunted place.
It would be really fun. Because the Christmas Carol of there's scary ghost stories and tales of
Yeah,
like you could do a ghost
you
story.
could. You
Oh,
could.
it would
And
be
Hallmark
brilliant.
loves doing A Christmas Carol, so why not?
Like kind of. They every once
Well,
in a while
yes,
because
they
they can't actually have a Scrooge. They
no, it's
so
true.
their
But
version of that is to have somebody that like in Nashville Christmas Carol where people were literally begging to work for her. Like, please don't fire me. Please. Like, okay, sure.
okay. All right.
But anyway,
Oh boy.
so that's my number 8. I have fond memories of it, even though I admit it's not like the best movie, but
Yeah.
I have fond memories of covering it and of watching it. So we'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. Based off the TV movie streaming on Up TV Network, Just Jake is the story of an emerging country star who returns home and reunites with his high school sweetheart in the second chance romance written by Jamie Engel. Order your copy on Amazon today using our affiliate link, where you can access a QR code to see photographs from the set, download the movie poster, and grab the delicious ginger heart cookie recipe, an Engel family tradition. Visit the author at www.jamieengel.com and enter the Engelverse. That's jamieengel.com. You have it 8.
My number 8 is Wedding March with Jack Wagner.
Okay, first one.
The first one.
Okay.
I love this series.
Mhm.
I enjoy all of the movies, even their
Mhm.
bonkers. They've given us some wonderful moments like the promise ring.
Oh my gosh, we like the whole internet died. Like we just could not believe what was happening.
It's like, oh, I didn't know that over 50-year-olds get promise rings, but okay, I'll go with it. And I was going over like I had to put Jack Wagner on. I had to
Uh-huh.
add Frisco Jones. He's a soap legend in both daytime and prime time.
Yeah.
But his some of his Hallmark films are not great, and one is on my worst list. Um,
Okay.
but I really thought about it. I was like, I got to pick something in the Wedding March because they're bonkers and fun. And I went with the first movie because it's the only movie that solely focuses on Jack Wagner and Josie Bassett's characters. And
Uh-huh.
it's the most cohesive and grounded of the 6 films.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it because it is a second chance romance. She has no idea that her ex-boyfriend, is running this wedding place that she's getting remarried in. And it's both of them as adults in a place of their lives where they're sort of trying to figure out what to do next. He's retired from the music biz. He's also widowed, and she's moving on from her. She's like, she stages things, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Oh yeah.
And so it's just like, and then I also liked it because they talk about their breakup, and they move past it and they go, yeah, we were young and dumb, but they were married and had good marriages and children. And it's just, I liked it because it was very adult, and we don't really get sometimes a lot of adult love stories like this. It's either like middle-aged people playing far too young in a more younger adult setting,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or you get the young people playing the love. But like, and this was a believable second chance. They were not high school sweethearts. They were met in college. He had a career and she could not handle it. And I love both the actors, and they worked together before on Melrose Place. So they
Mm-hmm.
had the chemistry, they had I believed it, the friendship. I believed them together. And I just, because his character progressively gets more goofy in each movie, but I do love when Jack Wagner gets like flummoxed, in those movies, and he doesn't know what's going on, with the whole like, when you
Yeah.
wear your wedding dress or whatever. To me, that was a lot of fun. And so,
Do you think that Hallmark expected us to believe that they had a chase romance? Or are we supposed to did they expect us to say that this is like closed door, because it's unbelievable
Oh,
that
well,
they would, the idea, like I think it's the second or the third, they're supposedly not even dating, and yet she's moved up there for him.
well, in the
And
sixth movie, it appears that they're sharing a room.
is
I
it?
just
I
think
can't
that,
remember
yeah,
that.
because when she's looking in her closet and he's putting stuff in and they walk in, it to me, I assumed they were sharing a room. I guess if
Yeah,
you don't show it, you don't mention it.
yeah,
You know,
because it's just ridiculous.
'cause
There,
I don't remember the last time. It is ridiculous. They just didn't mention it because I do remember in a honeymoon for one, like
mhm.
they were living together in that one before he dumped her and she went on a honeymoon. And I think that's the last time. I might be wrong, but that
Mhm.
I clearly remember them stating that they lived together and they were not married.
I mean, you just mean Hallmark movies in general?
In Hallmark movies in
Because there
general,
was
yes.
also that one with Jonathan Bennett and Brooke D'Orsay where they were clearly living together.
Oh, that's the recent one, the wedding one, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Yeah,
that
that's
one.
the only other one
Yeah.
that I remember.
But I
But
was talking
yeah,
about, yeah, most recently, yeah, I just think that they don't mention it.
yeah.
I don't know
But
why.
for me, I do have sort of a an iconic memory, I guess, of, so we first started watching the when we first started doing the podcast, I really hadn't seen that many non-Christmas Hallmark movies.
Right.
And so, I did some marathon sessions, whatever. And at the time, there had only been two, because this was 2017. And so I watched the first two Wedding March movies, and I found the first one incredibly boring. And then the second one,
Fair. It's fair.
the second one
Yeah.
I hated. And
It's a fair
it would
assumption.
definitely be on my least favorite. If I did a worst Hallmark movies, it would be on there, because I just can't stand that bride. She was awful. And
And
those two
it
people should
is,
not be getting married.
I know.
And I really disliked the second movie.
It is weird how he's like, what do you mean you're moving in here and in the second movie and doing all this stuff when they established that at the end of the first movie.
Yeah. And they're supposedly like not even dating. And yeah, she moved all the way up there. Like it
Yeah, I think that's why I
is
have a
bizarre.
fondness. Yeah, I have a fondness. I really enjoyed the first movie. It's the best for me out of the
Hmm.
six. But I think I enjoyed so much because they are the center of it. And
Yeah.
with all those movies, you at least you could count on Nick and Olivia, you know,
Yeah.
usually fretting about planning this wedding, but they were consistent when, you had some weird type of
The,
like,
the only reason that I would put the sixth one as the best, and I haven't seen any of them in a long time, but
yeah,
that I would put the sixth one is because I just thought the wedding was really pretty.
it was
It
really
might
pretty.
be the prettiest wedding that Hallmark's ever done, as far as
Yeah.
just the spectacle of it and the sparkle and
I did
the everything.
recently, yeah, I did recently watch it. I was under the assumption that I had watched that movie, and I realized that I had not. So I
Oh,
recently
okay.
watched the sixth one and I was like, I have to watch the sixth one because I might like this one more.
Yeah.
It is good. I think it's a great send off to the franchise. I just wish it was centered on Nick and Olivia because they could
Hmm.
have had the exact same storyline of he's going on tour and she's completely accepting of it, but they would like to be married before that. I
Yeah.
think they could have done
Well,
a whole movie just with them.
and as I
You know,
recall, Caitlin Stryker and that like celebrity that she's
yeah.
dating or whatever,
It's
that was
this
not a great plot.
that was not, and it
He
was like,
was a
of
jerk.
course, yeah. Oh my, I would have never married him. At
No,
the end, I
no.
would have like he never thought of her in that
Yeah.
whole, and I was like, why is she marrying him? But it's kind of like what you would expect from I don't want to be in the spotlight and I'm marrying a celebrity type of
Yeah.
story. But it's still a great way to end the series. I just wish
Yeah.
they were more of the focus.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, my number seven is has two When Calls the Heart
Ooh.
actors. It's The Sweetest Heart. This is one memorable on the podcast as well, because it was one that Amber and I early on really disagreed on. I quite enjoyed it. She hated it. I liked the fact that it told three love stories.
Right.
And I guess you could say Tammy was on I think was on When Calls the Heart, but I liked that you had Julie and Chris's story. It's kind of fun that they met and fell in love
Yeah,
too. That's
it's
sort of
interesting.
an added layer. But
It-
you know, you have, and then you have Tammy Gillis's romance, and you have Andrea Brooks's romance,
yeah.
and I think they're all fun. And I liked it, Tammy Gillis's character in particular, and how, like, it's, to me, that was so true. That, so she's just got married, I believe, or gotten engaged, I can't remember, but just gotten in a successful relationship, and so she then sees it as her thing to like give advice to Andrea and to Julie, and that is so true. I'll have people that like were single for many years, and then as soon as they get engaged or get
They know
married,
everything.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh well, here's how you do it. And it's odd, because you think that people that had been single for a long time would be sort of like reticent or like more, but I feel like they almost feel more validated to give
They
advice
do. They do. Like,
often.
listen,
It's like, I knew you when you were single. You forgot that we were friends. I knew you.
I knew how desperate you were.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
thought that was good. I you know, he's a doctor. I think that Chris McNally is extremely dreamy. I've liked him ever since Rocky Mountain Christmas, which I considered, but his role is very small
Yeah.
in that, so I decided not to include that. But I he made an impact, and when we were recapping it on the show, I was like, that brother, he is dreamy. I really like him, and so I've always just he's always done it for me.
Yeah.
Just McNally as far as leading man status,
Sure.
and well, you know, a lot of disgusting sounding cupcakes,
Oh
gross.
my God. Gosh. I think I'm more on Amber's take for this movie. This movie, I
Uh-huh.
don't, it's not bad, but I
Mhm.
just, I haven't watched it. I'll be honest, I haven't watched it for a while, but I just remember not feeling it.
Uh-huh.
It's just,
Yeah.
they're not
I
all winners.
yeah. I just like that it has the three love
Yeah, no,
stories, and
that is unique too, because we
yeah.
don't really get a lot of focus.
Mhm.
And it does distribute the focus somewhat evenly. Sometimes you have these side romances that barely get
Yeah.
any screen time. So
Mm. But yeah, if I you probably don't want to, it's probably a somewhat bad combination to have a cupcake maker and a heart doctor.
oh man.
Bravo. Probably. But yeah,
Sometimes I
so
wonder, sometimes I wonder if anybody would have picked the movie he did with the boat, the sailing movie it
we
was
did have
also a
that on the
wedding movie.
list.
I know, but sometimes I wonder if anybody would pick that, because I almost picked that. I considered it very thoroughly, because that
Mhm.
movie made me howl, because there's a moment when he has to rescue somebody and he has to jump off the
Oh.
boat. And I rewound this 7 times. It was clearly not him. It
Right.
was so clearly not him, and
Well,
that
isn't
made
his
me
hair like
howl.
dry, like
Oh,
minutes
yeah,
later?
he's
And
never wet at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
And I clearly picked it just for that moment, because they didn't even attempt to hide that it wasn't him. And I howled at that. It's one
Yeah.
of my favorite moments in a not that great film.
Yeah.
He had to do all the heavy lifting in that movie, but I almost picked that one
Yeah.
just for that reason,
But
which is
what's your
silly.
number 7?
My number 7 is Make Me a Match.
Okay, new one.
This is a new one, and I believe might be the first starring Hallmark movie for Ava
Yeah,
Bourne.
I think
Yeah,
so.
because she's done a lot of supporting. She
Yeah.
did all the garage sale mystery movies, and
Yeah.
I like this movie. I enjoyed it. It has its flaws. Like, she is so annoying. But I do love that how they explored the different cultures and weddings, and for this you had the Indian matchmaking and the cultures and the vibrancy, and because their weddings are so much fun. um I just like that, the way they were just exploring new stuff. It's not the same old that we get to see. We're really branching out into other cultures and traditions, and I think that they did it really well, and it was fun.
Mhm.
I don't know if they had the greatest chemistry, but I did like that kiss at the end. And
Yeah.
The wedding was at the end was really nice as well, like to look at. And it had its moments. It was fun. It had a great supporting cast,
Hmm.
and it was touching.
Yeah.
She needed some help, but everybody else was okay.
Yeah. No, that one, it was a fun one. I gave it a positive review.
Right, yeah.
I just wish it had had less business.
That is true. There was a lot of business in it,
Um,
and I
Yeah.
do
But
love
I
how
did love the wedding at the end. It was absolutely stunning. And then I
it
liked his
was.
mom a lot. It was really good.
Yeah. And I do think she was playing older than what she is in real life
Yeah.
too.
Hmm.
But a moment that made me howl too that I loved is when she's going through a crisis and she's going back to her old ways, and that guy that she was dating who was super nice, and
Yeah.
they
They
went
spent
in.
too much time on that other guy,
Right,
though.
they
Yeah.
did, but their matching outfits when they had the beige coats and stuff when they went to dinner was just top tier.
Hmm.
I know people like that in real life, and I howled. I
Hmm.
was like, yeah, she's definitely one of those. But it was, I had fun with it in the moment.
Yeah.
I hope to see him back in as a lead in another Hallmark movie.
Hmm.
Maybe we
Yeah.
can
Oh,
get
yeah, definitely. We enjoyed having him on the podcast, and so I
yeah.
hope they keep using him. It was a
I-
decent start. It was a rough June weddings,
yeah.
but
I don't know why they have June weddings when they
whew,
play a wedding movie every month.
oh my gosh.
I hope
Yeah.
that Hallmark goes into and does like I know they're doing Hanukkah movies, but I hope they go do a Dishwalla movie.
Yeah, that'd be
I hope
fun.
I'm pronouncing that correctly. I
Yeah.
apologize if I'm not. But I would like to see other holidays celebrated too
Hmm.
for films. I think that would be
Yeah,
really fun.
I think it would be too. All right. My number 6 is, I just grouped them all together. It's the garage sale mysteries.
Oh yes,
So when we first started the podcast, I really didn't want to cover the mysteries. I
right.
didn't really
I
enjoy
get it.
them. I still don't love them. I watched
Same.
3 yesterday. Woo. Um, but
Some of them
yeah,
are rough. I will
they
admit
really
that.
are.
Yeah,
But Garage Sale Mysteries was the first one to like win me over.
yeah.
I liked the fact that that she was married, that she's
Right,
and that had this family, and so there were sort of the family dynamic. I call it, when we talk about mysteries, I say, what's the family fun?
right, right.
And that's just the extra stuff, whether it's that comes from Garage Sale Mystery Family Fun,
I
even if they're not,
Yeah.
married.
I also loved it because there was so much family story involved
Yeah,
with
it
her.
was fun.
She solved the mystery, she had a family, and not only that, but her friendship and
Hmm.
storylines going on with her at the
Yeah,
antique and her friends.
yeah,
Yeah,
Sarah Strange. She's
exactly.
really
I mean,
good.
they had a few recasts, like the husband is different from movie one to the
Hmm.
second when they recast him with Steve Backick,
Yeah.
but they had such good chemistry, and they later recast the son too. But at the end, the cast gelled. This Garage Sale Mysteries is my favorite mystery franchise that Hallmark has ever put out. I just
Same.
I couldn't choose between. I wanted to put it on the list, but I was like, I can't choose between my babies. And I know that, I mean, Hallmark is finally airing them back because they were popular movies. They were the most watched mysteries when they aired
Yeah.
on the network for many years. And
Ow.
regardless of how you feel about Lori Loughlin, I mean, all of
Yeah.
that stuff is valid. But I don't know. I was gonna say I would just die, but no. I mean, I would be so happy if they like did another garage
Hmm.
sale mystery, but I know they never would because
Yeah, I kind of wish that they could do what they have done with this Aurora Teagarden, doing the prequel.
oh, I don't know
I
if it would
mean,
work.
and I would be fine with them just recasting her. I
I
mean,
just
I just don't think there's anything that special about Jennifer
I
that like
guess
requires Lori Loughlin. You just need
yeah, but I think it
you
would
just need a
yeah.
competent actress with brown hair. I mean, I don't know.
But
I wouldn't have a problem with them
no, but
recasting.
I mean, I don't know if it would have the same sort of zing to it, but
Hmm.
we do have like I think it's 17 movies in total, so we don't
Yeah,
need any
that's
more.
fair.
I was not a
My
big fan of the Aurora Tea Garden, like the rebranding. We had 18 of those movies. We didn't need to
Yeah,
do anymore. And
it was totally forgettable,
it
and
is
but
forgettable. It's weird because why should we invest in Arthur and Aurora potential romance when we know they're not going to end up together? It's
yeah.
just Yeah,
It was
it
it
is
was
a
it was
forgettable one.
average.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my favorite, at least in my memory, was the Picture of Murder. It was the one that I remember liking the most. That there's like this rich man who has this sort of antique camera, and there's like I think
Yeah.
a murder there, and she's I don't remember a ton about it, but in
Yeah.
my memory that was the one
They all,
that I
yeah,
liked the
because
most.
there is so many of them, they all blend in together.
Uh-huh.
But another thing the series really had was great guest stars in it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
the casts were always good.
And I haven't, one of my big Hallmark blind spots is I have not seen Murder She Baked. Because they finished the
Yeah.
original run before we started 2017.
Oh,
And so I just never, it's like I just never caught up because there's so many. So I've never watched any of them. So, but of the mystery shows that I've seen, Gresham Mysteries is my favorite, unless you're counting Signed, Sealed, Delivered, which I think
yeah.
is different.
I think that's in a totally different
Yeah,
orbit
yeah,
though.
yeah.
But I'm going to tell you this, and grab your smelling salts because I know people love this, but you're not missing anything by not watching the Murder She Baked movie.
Oh,
I
okay.
am, I don't even like the reboot. It is so that, I mean,
Oh,
they're
I
not
heard
even
this
in the same
latest one.
town.
People were mad.
It's
Yeah.
funny because that one did not bother me. But I thought she was so selfish in that movie because she was so like, now I can't
Yeah.
remember anybody's name, but Cameron
Right.
Matheson was so supportive of her and even talking about her to the case. And of course,
Mhm.
he has to do certain things. And she's like, I can't believe you did this and that. Oh, you
Yeah.
mean like save your life? Sure. Break up over this. She was
Yeah.
totally unreasonable. It's like, I forgot I'm a baker. I'm so focused on saving this. I know you can't solve it, basically, is what she's telling him. And I was
Yeah.
like, and then he's like, oh. And I was like, no, do better.
Oh,
But
well,
I
what
still
is
liked it more
your,
than any other.
that's funny. What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Christmas in Evergreen, which
Okay.
has Jadea Lily Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And
True.
I
I forget that she's in that, but yeah.
Yes, and she's also in the fourth one, the very last one. It spawned 3 sequels.
Uh-huh.
They get less and less good as they go on. But this original movie, this first movie, is so fun, so
Mm-hmm.
whimsical, has such a great cast, and it's just every like the more they made the movies, the less whimsical and the less magical it got. But the idea of the snow globe, and she's trying to leave the town, and in the end, she decides to stay because that's her town. And then in the sequels, she's gone, which makes no sense, you know.
Hmm. Well, and you
But
could also pick the second one because that was Paul Green,
the
but I think
second,
that's,
no, that's the third one. The second
oh,
one is Joe Wagner.
right.
That one
But
is not. That one is not bad either. That one's actually a
yeah.
pretty decent sequel. They keep the continuity from the first movie, but then it just like it veers too much off, and
I'm
I'm
just
really surprised it.
fascinated.
Yeah,
I'm just fascinated about Maggie Lawson because she feels like somebody who should be a big hit in these movies, but I have not liked really any of her Hallmark movies, especially that one with Brendan Elliott. Woo, that is one of my least
oh my god,
favorites.
I have no
Oh,
memory of that one. I know I watched it, but
it's so bad. I hate that
yeah, I
one.
know. Like she's trying to be an actor. I think in that one, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
he's the
They're
director of the
doing a
play.
supposed version
Yeah.
of Christmas Carol. Oh,
Oh
that one
Lord.
is rough.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Okay, well, my number 5 speaking of Paul Green, is Christmas in Angel Falls. And
It's
he
a
is
good one.
the epitome of the man with many jobs in
Yes.
this movie. Literally every scene, he has a different job. He's like working at the toy store, like that his mom owns, and he's like in
It's
volunteer
such a good movie.
firefighter, and he's like everything. And I just really loved Rachel Boston in this.
Yeah,
I thought their chemistry was great. I think they could have made the town more grumpy. Like it's
Right.
really not that. Again, going back to Christmas Carol, like Hallmark just can't have a Scrooge. They can't have a real grumpy town. Like, but I still I love that scene in the church.
Yeah,
I
it's a great
love the
movie.
ending when they're dancing.
And how she gets a
she
second
chooses
chance,
the whole
you
thing with
know?
free will.
Right. That was great.
Really, really good.
You know, the whole, I mean, I love these type of angel stories. I don't
Mhm.
need them to always end with the couple together. Like I don't need that.
Mhm.
But those are also fun as well to watch. You know, you get invested in it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, when this first came out, I gave it 5 crowns. I
oh no, it's
really
good.
enjoyed
It's
it.
really
I really
it is
did.
one of the better ones. I'm so bummed they never made the third one because they were supposed to reunite for a
Oh,
third
really?
one. Yeah, I remember they came out with I can't remember, an article that they were going back to the Angel Falls, and I wasn't a big fan of the second movie where it's the
No.
same premise, but I found that one so boring
Yeah.
with the literary and writing the
Agreed.
books or whatever. That one was so boring. They said they were getting Rachel Boston and Paul Green back, and I was so excited. I was like, yeah, I would like to see another movie with them in it, but I think COVID hit and all that.
And there was an article that said that Paul Green was Hallmark's Cary Grant, and I would argue that that's not true, but I think this
Aw.
is the most Cary Grantish of any of his roles.
Who would you think is Hallmark's Cary Grant version? I think the only one, I think Christopher
Mhm.
Poloha is probably the closest.
Yeah. I mean, he tried to be like Jimmy Stewart too.
Well,
in some of his movies. I mean, I can see it with because I don't think Poloha is really the like I think he's a little more wholesome. You know what I mean? Than like Cary Grant was more the like suave, debonair,
I guess
charming,
so. I
you know,
guess it
kind of a
depends
thing.
the role he plays.
But I think this is the most, and maybe it's just because
Yeah.
Cary Grant, you know, did The Bishop's Wife, and it's kind of a
Yes.
similar plot. Maybe
Right.
that's what
I mean,
I'm
he didn't even
thinking.
have to talk. He was always smoldering, even
Yeah.
just standing there.
Yeah.
What a presence that man had. Like he didn't have to open his mouth. He was smoldering every moment. But yeah, I get the
I
comparison.
mean, maybe Kevin McGarry actually would also be kind of Cary Grantish.
I guess, maybe, yeah. He does
Yeah.
make the most of all his Hallmark movies.
So what do you have at 5?
My number 5 is Hello, It's Me.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, my number 4 is The Wedding Cottage.
Yeah.
I just found this charming. I
is.
really loved both these leads. I thought they were so good together. I mean, the plot is just fine. Like it's does the job what you need to do. But it was just the banter back and forth, the chemistry. I was just charmed by it.
Right.
So
I like this movie. I don't think there's much chemistry between them. But
really? Interesting.
I don't. And I have I'm full of hot takes today, but Brendan Penny runs hot and cold with me on a lot of his Hallmark movies. I think he's gotten better. And he sort of looks, I'm saying this in a nice way, but he's kind of matured in his looks. He's where he's like, now he looks like he can play all those roles he was trying to play before. And I just like, he didn't win me over with this one. There's been movies that I've enjoyed he's in, but he didn't win me over in this one. And I was like, he's such a brat.
No, I mean, I agree that I was actually mostly miss on him for a long time. I felt like he always came off as kind of smug.
Right.
I mean, I especially hated that bracelet movie. That was
that's the one that I don't mind.
It's so boring. Oh, I mean, that was the year that Hallmark was determined that every single movie had to be like a version of Signed, Sealed, Delivered. They like find a
Absolutely. They
letter
couldn't do
or
a
a
Signed,
ring
Sealed.
or a
Yeah.
bracelet or, and
It's
and
funny because I actually enjoyed those that year when they were a little bit more like Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
yeah. That one was rough for me. I really didn't care for that one, but I loved In Merry Measure. I thought that was so good, and this sort of
Yes, yeah, it
nerdification of
was.
Brendan Penny works for me.
Yeah, he worked
And
in that,
yeah.
he really worked in that one for me. He's fun in that one. So it's like I don't hate everything he's done, but he
Mhm.
just didn't do it for me. But like I'm really loving his like he just looks more mature now.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I'm,
Yeah.
I guess because he's older, we all get to that. And I think he's just
Mhm.
at that. I love the look of like men. I don't even know how old he is, but like when you're in your late 30s and you're in your early 40s,
Yeah.
I think that's the best looking men are.
Right.
Really. I think they've
Yeah.
matured in all areas,
Right.
and they just look the best for
Yeah.
me in that age. He's probably younger than that. I'm sorry, dude.
Well, what do you have it for?
My 4 is I struggled with Andrea Evans because she's
You
been
mean
in two.
Brooks?
Sorry, Andrea Brooks. Andrea Evans is a soap star, by the way, if anybody wonders. She's on Days of Our Lives.
Yeah.
No, she's not. Anyway,
Yeah.
Andrea Brooks. She doesn't have that many leading Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
And the ones she does are not good, to me anyhow. But I
Mhm.
ended up choosing A Harvest Wedding.
Mhm.
She
Yeah,
plays the
this one's a
bride.
pretty good
Yeah.
one.
I do enjoy this movie. She plays the bride. Marcus Rosner is her groom.
Mhm.
So they're paired up together. And she's a supporting player to Joe Wagner and Victor Webster. But I generally like this movie. She comes in, she's
Mhm.
helping wedding plan.
Yeah.
The farmer,
And
with
this does
corn.
nagavate a lot of minefields that are usually really bad. Like I
It is true.
usually can't stand what I call the scientific farmer movies,
Exactly.
where like somebody's trying to craft the perfect poinsettia or
Trying
the
to
perfect
redo corn,
tulip or the perfect, like usually those are so boring. But in this one, he is definitely a scientific farmer, but
absolutely,
it's palatable. And then usually planning weddings are terrible, and planning movies are terrible. And this manages to be, fine with that also. So it's
I
definitely one I
also like,
considered.
yeah, I also like how it ends, spoilers, but
It's
the wedding goes
bonkers, but
off.
it's
It's bonkers. The
fun.
wedding goes off without a hitch, but I like it how she didn't have to leave her life. They
Yeah.
made it work together. Yes, I don't know if they would really have a cornfield on a roof. In like this city, but it worked for me. But there was a compromise between the both of them, which I liked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, my number 3 is one I kind of debated because another supporting role, but I have Just One Kiss which has Chris Cooper as the daughter, and I felt like her role was sizable enough for me to include. I absolutely loved this movie. I love all of the music in it, of course. I love the chemistry.
My number 2.
I loved the dance. Anytime they were on the roof was amazing. The only thing that I would change about this movie is I do think the X is a little Lifetime thriller.
A little too much, yeah. Oh my gosh, in a minute it would have. But this is my number 2. I love this movie. One of the better ones that they aired last year.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give away the twist, but I loved how they incorporated all of that and like they pulled it off.
Yeah, it was so good.
And I didn't think how they pulled it off. I was like, that is so good. I
so
love
smart.
it.
Yeah.
It was so smart. It's so fun too, it's so fun. They did a lot with a small budget.
Yeah.
You could tell, but like, it's so much fun. The singing, the dancing, like, there's so much fun stuff, it's great. Good cast.
So what do you have at 3?
My 3 is Winter Love Story with Kevin McGarry.
I had title. What a snooze of a title.
The title is bad. And I had a hard time choosing Kevin McGarry because I almost love all his Hallmark outings.
Yeah.
I think he's got a really good track record.
Yeah, we talked about that off air. We were chatting that he really doesn't have a terrible movie.
No, he doesn't. He has one of the strongest outputtings for
him and Michael
Hallmark
Rady,
stars.
Almost always crush it.
Exactly. So it was between this one and it was between the one at the ice castle, and I can't remember the name of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I
And
ended up choosing this one because it's a fun road movie as well.
and this one has the cutest dog. I
It is
love.
cutest. And I think he and Jen Lilly have good chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
and they bring out something in each other, and the whole thing about the road trip and promoting their books. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a sci-fi writer, and how they're,
Yeah.
going through, like, they're stuck in writing and all this other stuff. I just found it fun.
Yeah. Well,
The charm to it.
my number two is one I've felt is very underrated. We had a great episode of On Friendship on it when we first start pretty early on. It's Anything for Love. So another Paul Green leading role. I just really like this movie because I think it's it's an interesting sort of take on gender dynamics, gender politics, and that she doesn't want to admit that she's this the CEO. She's worried that'll intimidate men, which I feel like is
Right.
pretty valid. And then like he is this nurse, and they have this miscommunication. And I know that our friend Thaddeus, who's a psychiatrist doctor, like he feels like that is too old fashioned,
Yeah.
that stereotype that like people wouldn't care that he's a nurse. But I don't know, like dating can be so superficial.
I don't know. There are some
And
people who do.
even if people actually wouldn't care, I still feel like there's an idea that people think people would care. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I could picture how this lie would be started. And
Well, I mean, it's not on his, it's his friend who does it.
yeah, that's
He's
true.
the
The friend sets
doctor,
up but then he
you know,
keeps it going.
but he likes her, and
Yeah.
he keeps it going, and they just get more and more.
Mhm. And Allie Liebert is so good as the assistant
Yeah.
in that one, and she's basically at one point is like, why are you like embarrassed to be what I am, kind of thing.
Exactly.
And so I think it tackles a lot, and I think it does it pretty well.
Yeah.
And I like Erica Christensen. I think she's good. And I mean, dating is just so awkward that to me, these lies kind of I think make sense. And
Yeah, and it's
I just like
this.
it.
Yeah, this is actually my number one. Anything
Oh,
for Love is
okay.
my number one. And I like
Nice.
it so much because it's fun, it's good chemistry, but there's so much of it, even though it feels antiquated, that is true.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I do know
Mhm.
people who would be like, I can't believe he's a nurse. He can't
Yeah.
get a more manly job.
Right.
And while I don't think anything wrong about that, I do know people, there are people who, and men are some, I also know men like this too. They're intimidated when women have higher ranking
Mhm.
jobs than them or more responsibility. They feel like they can't equate,
Mhm.
whether it's these old fashioned notions that I'm supposed to have a bigger role,
Mhm.
and more of a protector role, more of an earner role, that's probably all, built in over years and years of, reading books about it and watching movies and all that
Mhm.
stuff, that we've got it ingrained in our mind. But I felt like this was the most realistic of
Yeah.
it. And when he goes to the office, when they have to fake it, I mean, they want to come clean, but they can't because they're so far deep in.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
really,
And because they're both lying, the like liar reveal kind of moment isn't
yeah,
as annoying as it sometimes is, because they're like, how could you lie to me? I just think that's it, because what it does is like the movie's usually been pretty silly up until that point, and
yeah,
and fun. And so when they're all of a sudden they have all this outrage, it kind of spoils the fun.
yeah.
Whereas in this case, both of them were lying, both of them were equally at fault here. And so I think that it handles that side of it like pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it
And
does.
it's definitely one of the most
Yeah.
underrated Hallmark
And
movies.
I do feel like it's a forgotten Hallmark
Yeah.
movie because they
Mhm.
don't, you get to a certain point in Hallmark, where they only play like movies from the last 3 years, and they get lost in the shuffle, or they
Mhm.
get moved to Hallmark
Yeah.
drama, which not everybody has, or people don't even realize they have it,
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
they're on,
and
I think this is on the streaming service.
this is on Hallmark Movies now, and it's
Yeah.
also on Hoopla, which
Yes.
is the library service, if
Yeah.
people want to watch it. And yeah, it's a really good one. Well,
Yeah.
my number one is also starring Paul Green. And so I had to pick Christmas Detour. It's a
Oh,
classic with him and Candace. The sort of the road trip. You've got the Santa getting everybody into trouble. Her vision boards and everything. And I like Sarah Strange and David Lewis.
yeah.
And got Marcus Rosner. This was in his stretch of playing the wrong guy. The other guy,
Yes, he
Ron
had many of
Oliver
those.
directing again. He almost always delivers something entertaining. This is just very classic. If I like wanted to just put on a classic, basic, entertaining Hallmark Christmas movie, this would be pretty high up for me.
Yeah. This one doesn't do it as much as some others, but it is. I mean, it's also a road trip movie with so much shenanigans. That vision board had me rolling though, because
I have 2 vision boards, by the way. And I was just thinking the other day, because I've had mine, like, I think I made my 2 vision boards and I've just had them up in my office since I think 2007. So I'm like, I maybe should change the they're so old.
I've never attempted one because I'm the most boring individual you've ever encountered. So could you imagine my vision board? There'd be nothing in there. I'd be like, well, I accomplished this today, so thumbs up. It would be a waste.
I just think this one is fun, entertaining.
Yeah, there's fun
like
moments. It's definitely, for me, it got better with repeat viewings.
Yeah. So that would be mine. So let's go over our list real quick.
Okay.
So 12, I have Hello, It's Me. 11, Every Christmas Has a Story. 10, Summer of Dreams. 9, Destination Wedding. 8, Christmas Scavenger Hunt. 7, The Sweetest Heart. 6, Garage Sale Mysteries. 5, Christmas in Angel Falls. 4, The Wedding Cottage. 3, Just One Kiss. 2, Anything for Love. And 1, A Christmas Detour.
Okay, and mine is number 12, A Cookie Cutter Christmas. 11 is A Winter Princess. Number 10 is Homegrown Christmas. Number 9 is Summer of Dreams. Number 8 is Wedding March. Number 7 is Make Me a Match. Number 6 is Christmas in Evergreen. For number 5, I have Hello, It's Me. Number 4, A Harvest Wedding. Number 3, Winter Love Story. Number 2, Just One Kiss. And my number 1 is Anything for Love.
Nice. Yeah, very good.
Very, very varied too.
Yeah, it's fun. So I mentioned I'd read the responses from our patrons, and Patricia Gibbons Barton, she has Just One Kiss, Recipe for Love, The Wedding Cottage, Christmas in Angel Falls, Hello, It's Me, Christmas Scavenger Hunt, Make Me a Match, and then Wedding March, The Perfect Bride, which neither of us had that on our list. I know that's a favorite. Romance to the Rescue, A Winter Princess, and Sailing into Love. So
somebody does have Sailing into Love.
Yeah. And then Steve Hahn, he says, I think I've seen 32 of them. The ones I remember liking were Garage Sale Mysteries, A Winter Love Story, A Winter Princess, Christmas in Evergreen, Tidings of Joy. But most of the others were just a 2 or sometimes 3 out of 5. I really didn't like In the Key of Love. My notes were no one respects her autonomy, not big on consent, hired photographer, but everyone keeps telling her not to do her job, to push her
Oh my
to
gosh,
the guy.
I know.
That's fair.
That's fair. That's a fair point in that.
Yeah.
I will say though that like for the 2-star, like if you gave it 2 stars, I gave A Cookie Cutter Christmas 2 stars too. But I think even if it's a lesser film than others, if you enjoy it, and it might not be that great in like acting or the look of it or whatever, it's how you feel when you watch it.
Yeah, I mean, this was our favorites. It was not a best, like I wouldn't have Christmas Scavenger Hunt on like quality list.
But it's like, it's how you feel.
For it.
I do love me some bad movies though.
Yeah.
But it's how you feel like in the moment. But sometimes quality does affect how you view something.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you have good memories of watching a particular movie with friends, or
absolutely, yeah,
all those things come into play, and it's just our personal rankings, so nobody's wrong. But we'd love to hear your rankings if you're listening. What would be your top 12? And we'll put a link to the short list, the Letterboxd, which sign up for Letterboxd. It's really fun. But we'll put a link that, and we'd love to see if you want to do a blog post or a podcast or whatever if you want to do some content, or just put in the comments your top 12. We would love to hear that and to see that. So thanks so much, Terry. This was a lot of fun. And
It was.
how can people follow you on Twitter? whatever.
I am at Flurry Heaven, Twitter, which I refuse to call X
Yeah.
because that is the laziest,
So
most
ridiculous.
unoriginal rebranding. This is what rich people do when they're bored. You ever watch the videos of rich people and you know
Yeah.
they're mega rich because everything they own, their house, their furniture,
Right.
their walls are white and beige.
Right.
And this is how you know they're rich and they have so much money and they're boring. And this is what X is, but it's
Agreed.
Twitter.
It's
So.
ridiculous. But
Here's my rant.
But yes,
Sorry.
And no, you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media, and make sure you check out our recaps of When Calls the Heart. They're going to be starting, and we do it every 2 weeks, and we have a lot of fun. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that. And if you're listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Most of our viewers on YouTube are not subscribers. So if you're one of those people, please subscribe. It really helps us. And then we also have the patron group and merch store. We can get tons of When Calls the Heart inspired merch at the merch store. So please take a look at that. And our patron group, like so you can be a part of these ranking episodes and have your rankings listed on the show. So please take a look at that. It really helps us a lot. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.